to everybody to the first Global Women's Leadership Network meeting of the New England Sister Society for this year. Thank you for attending. Just a couple housekeeping things. Just please keep yourself on mute while while our presenters are talking. If you do have questions, you can put them in the chat. We do want to make it interactive at some point, just one person at a time. If you could unmute if you have questions. We certainly want it to be interactive and engaging, and keep it lighthearted and everything. I want everybody to have fun and enjoy the presentation. And I want to say welcome. We have 4 of the founding members, or one is in an emergency meeting, so I apologize. We actually have 3 of the founding members of the Credit Unions Women's Leadership Alliance with us today. We have Heather Walter, President and CEO of Advance CU out of Louisville with approximately 150 million in assets. Maria Martinez, President and CEO of Border FCU, Del Rio, Texas, 197 million in assets. Winona Nava, President and CEO of Guadalupe Credit Union in Santa Fe with approximately 217 million in assets. So I'm going to actually turn it over to Heather to begin, just to keep us moving. But again, welcome everybody. We're excited to have you join us. We need to start pushing, getting some he for she's to help support us and join us on some of these meetings. It's not just for women only. It always helps keep it more engaging when we have others on as well. So please just, any of these meetings, anybody is welcome. So, if you know anybody that's interested, always just pass it on, and welcome. And I'll turn it over to Heather and Maria and Winona.
Great, thank you. Well, I'll start. Thanks for the introduction. Again, I'm Heather Walter. I am in Louisville, Kentucky, where it's Derby week. So if you're a Derby fan, there's all kinds of excitement going on here. Lots of rain today, but it's supposed to be better for the rest of the week. So think happy thoughts for Louisville. I just want to begin with telling you the story of how CULA started. Early in 2019, Lily Newfarmer, who's President CEO of Tarrant County Credit Union in Fort Worth, Texas, she approached a couple of her vendor partners about offering a support network whose general goal would be to support women leaders of smaller credit unions. The main issue we could see were the smaller credit unions were merging, going away when the CEO was retiring. Being a CEO and trying to build that support network is a big job. So we were trying to offer that support network and get this off the ground. What a great vision she had. So she had some serious discussions with CUNA Mutual Group and CUNA, and they identified a small group of the potential founders, which started with women CEOs of smaller credit unions. And they focused on geographic diversity, so not everyone was from the same state. And these ladies would lead the creation of CULA. So we had an initial conference call and we discussed the potential and all the excitement. And then we agreed to meet in person in August of 2019 at Lily's Credit Union in Fort Worth, Texas. And that's where the concept of CULA was born. To give you a little more about who we are, here are the position statements that we've developed. Our purpose is our belief in an inclusive network and a safe space for women CEOs of smaller credit unions. Our promise is to create a mutual support system to foster collaborative opportunities to inspire and invest in women CEOs of smaller credit unions to help them succeed. And we have 3 goals: to create a mutual support system surrounded by trust and accountability, to provide challenging opportunities for professional growth through networking and mentorship, and to develop best practices and innovative ideas for building relevance and creating credit union growth. I want to take a minute and show you the website that we've developed. So we took some time and put together our CULA website, and you can see the 13 women founders there. Most of us have a small video clip attached to us about why we joined CULA. And you can feel free to take some time to watch that. I'm going to show you a couple in a minute. And then down below, a little of who we are, why we exist, our values and our goals that we just talked about. Then we have the Join Us Today up here that has our membership app. So I'm going to stop sharing that. But I'm going to show you a couple videos. The first I want to show you is Lily Newfarmer's video. The quality is a little poor. I do want to warn you in advance. She recorded it during the disastrous ice storm that happened in Texas a few months ago. So she was having some technical difficulties, but I think you can really see her passion still within the little bit of blurriness in it. Walter, can you go ahead and play Lily's video for us?
This is Lily Newfarmer, President and CEO of Tarrant County's Credit Union. Based out of Fort Worth, Texas, $108 million in assets. CULA got started from a notion around, wouldn't it be great if there was a support system in place specifically to help and support women CEOs who run smaller credit unions? This notion turned into a conversation with Gary Singleton with CUNA Mutual Group and Tom Sakash with CUNA, who both agreed that this notion and/or idea was worth pursuing. The three of us then reached out to 12 other women CEOs who run smaller credit unions throughout the US and asked them if they would be willing to meet to discuss the possibility of creating this type of support system. They all agreed. We met soon thereafter, and it was determined very quickly from our meetings that not only is this support system needed, but could also be a valuable support system to help with the sustainability of smaller credit unions. And so here we are, excited to launch CULA and excited about the possibilities.
Thank you, thank you. She did a great job on her video. Probably my favorite of all of them, I definitely want to share with you. And this is Karma Parrish's video. We were hoping Karma could join us today, but she was the one that had a quick meeting and she had to rush out for. She starts off with a very relatable commercial, so just hang in there. It seems a little odd from the start, but you'll see how it all fits together in the end. Walter, can you play Karma's video for us, please?
After years of being treated like she was invisible, it occurred to Mindy she might actually be invisible. But Mindy was actually not invisible.
Ooh, what are you doing?
Can you see me?
Yeah.
She had just always been treated that
You
way.
don't have to look at me like that. There are worse things than an attractive woman touching your body. Okay.
Join the nation that sees you as a priority.
Nationwide is on your side.
Hi, I'm Karma Parrish, CEO of North Park Community Credit Union in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm one of the 13 founders of CULA, Credit Union Women's Leadership Alliance. I love that video of Mindy. It's from the 2020 Super Bowl, and the reason I used it is because that's what I want to talk about today. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Inclusive is about being invited to the table, but just because you're invited to the table doesn't mean that you're seen, and it doesn't mean that you're heard. Being included is greater than inclusive. In 2019, the founders of CULA met in Texas, and we spent a day talking about inclusive and who should be invited to the table. We talked about, should it be just CEOs? Should it be just females? Should it just be small credit unions? And yet, as we talked more and more through the day, we realized this is a unique situation. We face unique challenges as females and as CEOs and small credit unions. I don't know that a man can understand the challenges that I face being a mom who wants to be that nurturing, soft mom, and yet I'm a strong, powerful leader who has the challenge of going home and not treating my kids like an employee, but as my kid. And I don't know that a large credit union can understand the challenges that I face wearing multiple hats and having multiple things go here, there, and everywhere throughout the day. Not that they don't, but it's different. And I don't know that I can feel comfortable talking about the challenges that I have as a CEO, where the buck stops with me, to someone who doesn't have the buck stop with them. And it may sound oversimplified, but for me, that's when it really came true to me. This is why CULA needs to be that core group of who we are, of female CEOs, up to 300 million in assets. I love that I'm included. I'm not just invited to the table, I'm seen, I'm heard. I'll give you a perfect example. In 2020, we were faced with many challenges, and like some, there were changes to the org chart, and I was faced with a unique situation. I had no idea what I was doing. Unique in the sense that I didn't even know where to turn. So I brought it up on one of our monthly CULA calls, and I just said, is there anybody that can help me? That weekend, one of my CULA sisters was on the phone with me on Zoom, walking me through how to do something. At the end of the call, she said, I'll call you tomorrow, Carmen, and on Sunday, we'll figure it out. And next weekend, I'll check in with you, and we'll get you the rest of the way. I don't know if I would have had that otherwise. And I am so grateful for this network where I can share my challenges and my concerns, whether it's with being a mom, being a wife, and that work-life balance, whether it's struggling with the pressures that I'm under, knowing that it all ends with me and I can't let these people down. My members, my employees, my board, everyone's relying on me not to fail. And I love that small credit union leaders, they know the same challenges that I face, that I may have to clean the toilet and I may have to pull the weeds in the flower bed at the branch. I love that I am seen and I am heard. So if you are a female CEO of a credit union that's up to 300 million assets, I invite you to enjoy the benefits of belonging to CULA. And by the way, happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. That's one of my favorite videos. I hope you all enjoyed it too. We kicked off CULA publicly at the GAC in February of this year, and we already have many new members, which we're excited about. We're now doing monthly meet and greets for our brand new members and starting quarterly panels on hot topics. Our June hot topics is board relations. We're also working on developing a mentorship program and hoping to plan an in-person conference, maybe on the heels of a larger national conference like GAC or CUNA CEO Council Conference, where our members can stay an extra day and join us for a CULA meeting. So just some of the things we're working on. It's brand new and lots of big ideas out there. Now I'm going to turn it over to Maria to tell us a little more.
Thank you, Heather. And thank you so much for having us here today. It's my pleasure. And being part of CULA has been an amazing experience for me. I think it's probably one of the best things that I've done in my career as a woman. And I've been in the industry for many years. I'm the CEO of a credit union in Texas. We are in Del Rio, Texas, which is right on the border with Mexico. So many of our members and employees live or work across the state, across the nation here in Mexico. So we have a little bit different scenario here on the border. But when I met this group of ladies, it was just an amazing experience that I endure. And that rapport that we built and being able to share ideas. 2020 was a very drastic year for many of us, especially those of us that are in a management position, because there were a lot of decisions that had to be made that we didn't have any exposure to in the past. And in making those decisions, we needed some guidance. And so normally you would turn to guidance to your peers, to your board, but having this group of women along the side became just more important for me, because I was able to bounce ideas off of them, and vice versa. We were all coming together for this. When we started doing this, we wanted to do it to reach out to women within our asset size. And yes, many of you probably noted that in 2020, we grew up. I was like at 150 million. And all of a sudden, right now, I'm sitting at over 200 million because of all the liquidity that came in. So we've all experienced that. And we never in the world when we met in 2019 thought that this was ever going to happen. So now we have all this liquidity and we don't know what to do with it. But we still are here to serve our members. And just, you know, the ambience that gets involved in these meetings that we have, it's a lot of work. It has not been easy, and those of you, Winona and Heather, can tell you that building a new organization, it takes a lot of work. But I've never seen a group as committed as these women. Everybody did their own part. And you know, because we all have teams in our credit unions, and you always have those that maybe they're not gonna come through, but you always have the core that, you know they're gonna pull it through. Well, there's 13 women that came together. We all pulled it together, and we all use our expertise. So when it came time to organizing the corporation, we had a volunteer, and then when it came time to do the GAC, then somebody said, I can do that. And when it came time to marketing, then somebody else said, I can do that. And I got to give a lot of credit to this team, because they've done an amazing job. And especially Lily. Lily's been, the chair of the organization. And it takes a lot of work to do something like this. So because a lot of us are in management positions at the top where we know what it takes to lead an organization, we're a very good resource. Today, we really would like to invite those of you that are CEOs of credit unions that are 300 or less in an asset size to look us up, because you won't regret it. And, once you become a member, we're going to have more things coming up. I think one of the things that we're working on is the mentorship part. We were in another call, I believe it was last week, and there was a question that was asked then, what about, it was a male that asked the question, what about if I have people that I'm mentoring for them to become CEOs in the future of a credit union? What do I do with them? How can y'all help them? I really didn't have a straight answer for that person, but I can tell you that some of the things that we're working on right now is to build a resource for women that are going to be entering the field of management within the credit union industry. We didn't have this before. This is something new. This is something that was needed. We were hungry for it. And I was on a trip with Lily. We went to Italy back in 2019 and 2018, before the meeting. And she was telling me about this group. She says, what do you think, Maria? Do you think this is something that we can put together and go with it? And I remember we talked, the trip didn't seem very long. It was a 12-hour trip, by flight. And it didn't seem that long because we would just keep talking about it and coming up with the idea. And I got so excited. And then when I started seeing some of the women that she was talking about, I go, oh my God, this is amazing. So it's been a great experience. I really, invite you to join us. Look at our website. Our website is not very sophisticated, but the little that we have in there, it's a lot of really good information. You can also go into YouTube, look at the videos that each of us did into why is it that we're in this organization. But we as women, we really need to support each other. Many of us have had mentors. Many of my mentors have been men, and I'm very grateful to those mentors that I've had. And I'm sure some of you have also experienced that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But now I think it is our job as women leaders to also be mentors to others that are stepping up to the plate. So thank you for having us here. I think next is gonna go Winona, and she has another story to tell you, and then hopefully we can open it up for questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we really appreciate being here today. And I think they both really described what our group is about. It's about helping us support each other, exchange ideas so that we can help small credit unions grow and thrive. And someone had said, well, what is the difference between this and the Global Women's Leadership Network? And I think the biggest difference is you all come from all walks of life, all expertise, and all professional standing. And I'm very familiar with the organization, and I'm a member of it. And it's a great organization wanting to make a difference in lives. And I think that's hugely important. But I think our organization serves a different niche for those of us that are in the CEO role in our smaller credit unions. And I know I was really blessed to be a part of a journey in 2008 when 7 women leaders got to go to Chile and Peru with the World Council to study the impact of women-run cooperativas. And it was really awesome. And then 10 years later, I'm recruited to be founder of this group, and it's really great. And I guess I'm the one elected to share a little bit about my personal journey. And when I first heard about CULA, I was just so drawn to it because I have been through such a journey when I was looking to become president CEO of a credit union. At the time, my credit union that I run now was only 10 million in assets. A woman was running it. She reached out to me. I was working at another credit union, and she told me about the fact that she was retiring and that it would be great if I took over the credit union. And I thought, well, this is awesome. And so I did a lot of things to prepare myself. I went to Western CUNA Management School. I had gotten married early instead of going to college. So I made sure I completed my associates and started working on my bachelor's degree. I did all this stuff, worked my way up in the State Employees Credit Union. And I really thought, oh, wow, this is going to be a great opportunity. And then, unbeknownst to her and to myself, the board, which was all male at the time, decided, no, they wanted a male to run the credit union. They did not even open the position up for application. They had a young man that one of the board members knew, and they just decided, let's hire him. And he did not even have any credit union experience whatsoever. So that was really sad and a real crushing experience for me. And so it was really strange though. About 18 months later, I get this phone call from our state regulator who says, are you interested in becoming CEO of a credit union? I said, well, yeah, that's my career goal. And they said, okay, the director just wanted us to check, so thank you. And I said, well, why? And they said, well, we can't really say anything else now. And they hung up. So I thought that was really strange, right? And so a few days later, I was driving by this credit union that I had hoped to be the CEO of, and it's surrounded by police cars. I mean, it's just a scary scene. I was actually being very nosy and almost wrecked my car. And I thought, oh, great, all these cops are watching me wreck my car. But I managed to not do that. And I thought they'd been robbed. That was really all I could think of. And so on the news that night, it was a big deal because they had taken over, the state regulators had taken over the credit union. And they had also arrested this gentleman that got the job I wanted and put him in jail, along with 3 of the other male employees. So it was quite shocking to see all of that on the news. And so then a few days later, the job opening was announced, and the regulators again called me and said, so are you going to apply for this job? And I think the reason they knew me so well was because at this $30 million credit union I was at, my boss would always let me handle all the examiners. He would just basically, he didn't handle them. He would say, you talk to them, or you help them find whatever they need or whatever. So I was very well known to the examiners. So that was a real plus. And by that time I was actually only half a semester short of my graduation with my bachelor's, and they had in the job that they wanted to have a bachelor's degree, but they said, well, that would be close enough. And there were several other applicants, but I did get the job. And, everything was wrong. They did warn me of that up front. All the general ledger accounts were out of balance. There was fraud. There was all kinds of things that needed to be cleaned up, And the headline, in fact, in Credit Union Times was Sex, Drugs, and Credit Union. So you all can probably get some idea of the kinds of things that was going on at the credit union at the time. In fact, I had a member from state employees come up to me at the grocery store and say, honey, what are you doing going over there with all that bad stuff? You should just stay over here where it's safe. And I'm like, but I'm going to fix all the bad stuff. It was really crazy at the time because Santa Fe, especially back then, was a pretty small town. So then I got scared. They had hired an advisory board. They had got rid of all the people that didn't consider me for the job. The state had removed them all, but then they put in an advisory board, and I thought, what happens if I go clean it up and then they want another man to run it, right? So I talked to her and she assured me they would keep me. If I could fix it, they would keep me. So that was how I ended up at the top at Guadalupe Credit Union. You know, and I had always heard over the years about it being lonely at the top. That was the first time I really, really understood that, because I didn't have anyone to go to for advice, for support. It was really a lonely place to be. And I had a 10-year-old son, and I was working so many hours trying to get this mess cleaned up, right? So I go home one night and, you know, my son is like, what are you doing here, Mom? And I said, I came home for dinner. And he said, but it's light outside. You always come home after dark. And I was like, oh, I felt so bad I actually cried. And I tried to be a little more moderation on my work hours after that, but it was really crazy. But we did come back to safety and soundness. And so that was a great victory, and I'm still here today. But another interesting little twist to this whole thing is I was in our credit union after a little while, because we had a lot of Spanish speakers. We were invited to be part of a World Council project with Alianza, which is I guess I'd call it an alliance of credit unions, because they're not really merged, but it's like kind of a big league in Mexico. But they do all their back office type functions for them. And so I got to be part of this. And so I got to really know the World Council really well. And that's how I got chosen to go on this Global Women's Leadership Network trip, was just because they knew me and knew that people at my credit union and so forth spoke Spanish. So, but it was really amazing event for me when I met Ethel. She was the CEO of this little cooperativa in Peru. And she sat there and she told us our story of how she had wanted to come to work for the cooperativa and be in charge of it when there was an opening, but they wanted a man, and they hired this man, and he didn't do a good job. He ran the place into the ground, and it was about to fail, but she felt it was so important for that small community to have this presence of this cooperativa that she begged them and asked them, can you give me a chance now? So of course, now they gave her a chance, and she fixed it, put it all back together again, and it was doing great and serving the entire community. And it was just so, I can't even say how touching it was for me to hear someone who had actually gone through the same thing that I had gone through, because I had never known of anyone that had gone through that. And so it was like so amazing. So that's when I heard about CULA, that I was going to be able to connect with all these people that had actually, all these wonderful women that had actually walked in my shoes and been through things, that I thought, oh my gosh, this could be so wonderful for everyone involved. The support and things that I was lacking when I first started in my career. And so that's why I think it is so amazing. You know, like there was nobody to uplift me back then. And this past year with COVID, it was crazy, the things we were all going through. I know you were too with with COVID, and those calls, like they were saying with CULA, they could lift me up, help me understand, exchange ideas, what might work better. It was just amazing. And so I think it was really a blessing that it happened right before COVID, even though it slowed down our formation a little bit. But it was great that we were there to support each other through COVID, and we would love to be able to support more of you through times like this and help each other. And even if it's just nothing so terrible, but exchanging wonderful ideas so our credit unions can grow and they can thrive. And, you know, I have to say my credit union was 217, they said in the beginning, at the end of the year. Now it's 238 million. I don't know about you all, but those stimulus checks really did something for our growth, right? I don't know that it's good, but it did a lot for our growth. We're a community development credit union, and we really focus on providing financial empowerment to the counties we serve. And again, that reminded me of Ethel in Peru and all the other ladies there talking about how we need to promote serving the entire community and being inclusive and helping everyone. So I just can't tell you enough how great CULA is and how great we can all be if we work together to increase and help our credit unions grow and thrive. So any of you, again, that are female CEOs of credit unions under 300 million, hope you'll consider joining us on this journey. And back to you, Heather.
Yes, back to me. Thank you. I love your story. Thanks for sharing it with us. In closing, I want to share why I joined CULA. I joined because I needed a safe space of other women CEOs to network and collaborate with. After spending a couple of days in Texas with the other CULA founders, I felt an immediate pull to them, and I knew they'd be a great support network for sharing ideas, offering their opinions, collaborating on projects, and many other things. I am glad I made that decision that day, and I've never regretted it. So as we've all said, if you are a CEO of a credit union that's 300 million or less, we do invite you to join us. We've kept the dues purposely affordable. There's 2 tiers of annual dues, but they're both under $300. So very affordable because we do want as many people to join us that can, and so we can have a bigger and better network. Thanks a lot for taking the time to listen to our story and for inviting us. What questions can we answer?
Anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to share for these guys? I'd like to open it up, and feel free to unmute yourselves, ask questions, just kind of chat. This is meant to be networking as well, and I'd like to thank Heather, Maria, and Winona for sharing their stories and sharing about CULA. Thank you so much, and thank you for everyone for attending. I'll say that early now, but if anyone has any questions for these ladies.
I want to just make a comment also. I know we didn't speak about founder and founding donors, but I do want to bring up the fact that I know we've been asked, some of the other panelists that y'all have been asked about companies that want to come in as sponsors. We don't have a sponsorship program, but we do have a founding donor program. Just for this year, because we do need funding in order to proceed with the things that we want to do within CULA. So if there are any third-party vendors or any third parties or even credit unions that maybe the CEO doesn't qualify within the guidelines that we have, but if they want to become founding donors of CULA, we welcome you to please, put some of your funds with us, and it'll be money well spent. So we do have a program that's coming up for that. Thank you.
Quiet group today. I know it's late in the day, guys, but anybody have anything?
That means we were really good.
Yeah, you were. No, I mean, I want to thank you guys again. You're going to provide such a valuable service. It's a great organization that you've put together. A lot of people do need mentoring, and it's helpful to know that you've all been through different series of things, and come up the ladder and had different experiences, and now can share that and help people along. Oh, actually, it does look like we have a question. I'm a young professional at my credit union, and I'd love to know what advice you'd give to yourself from 5 years ago.
Oh, that's a great question. I'll start, and then the rest of you feel free to join in. I think 5 years ago, I would tell myself that it's okay to not know all the answers. and it's okay to create a support system and a network of people to help, because a lot of times they've already encountered the problems you're having, and it's okay to make a mistake. I think we put so much pressure to be perfect and to do everything, and do things our way without kind of looking around to see what others have done. I would go back and change some of that myself.
Winona, you want me to go next?
I thought you did.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about 5 years ago, but I also want to talk about when I was young, when I was a young professional. Not that I'm not young anymore, guys, but I'm not younger, okay? But one of the advices that I always give my young professionals is get involved. Make the time to volunteer, make the time to do something within the industry. 2020 was a year that, because I guess people knew that we were available through Zoom or through any other channel, people were reaching out to us for, being on panels, being on committees, being on boards. And I loved it. I loved it because to begin with, I'm a very hyper person. So the way I calm myself is by staying busy. I multitask all the time. But one of the best advices that I can give any young professional is don't wait until it's too late. Get involved now. You have the energy. There's clubs, there's organizations, whether you start with a Rotary Club locally and then move up into some of the credit union committees and then keep moving up until you go to the national level. When I ran for the CUNA board, both Winona and I have been on the CUNA board, and I've known Winona for many years, and she was on the CUNA board as a director. And one time we were talking, and she tells me, she says, you would be a good CUNA board member, but we were in the same district. And I said, yeah, but I would never run a friend of mine. And so her term came up, and sure enough, she contacted me. She said, Maria, my term is going to come up. I cannot run again, and you would be really good for the board. She motivated me to be in it, and I'm still on the board of CUNA. And then, I'm on the board of CULA, and then we started the National Association of Latino Credit Unions and Professionals, NALCUP. And, we've been doing a network event ever since, for the last 20 years. And so finally this year, we opted to make it a national association. So there's so many things that y'all could be doing as young professionals. So don't stay behind the doors, be known, be out in the community. If there's volunteer opportunities, raise your hand and offer for you to take on the role. That leadership role is going to get you further, because when there's positions available, you'll be able to step up with no difficulty.
Yeah, that's great advice, Maria. And I know the one other thing that I see in my own organization when my employees are moving up is it can be amazing sometimes. I have a young woman that I'm grooming to take my place when I retire in not too many years at all. And one of the things that was interesting was when I've given her promotions over the years, and I've said, well, like what all kind of training and guidance, a lot of the time she already knew how to do the job and how to do way more of it than I thought she would. And the reason was because she never shied away when anyone would pull her into projects that weren't in her job description. She never shied away. She always just took the ball and ran with it and learned more and more and more. So I would definitely encourage you not to be constrained by your job description, to do and learn as much as you can.
Thank you. Great advice from all of you. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything? Okay. I guess not. So I guess we'll let everybody go a little bit early. I want to thank both Heather, Maria, and Winona for joining us today and giving us knowledge of CULA and their experiences. Feel free to reach out, and I don't know if you guys can put the CULA website or something in the chat for everybody so they know what it is. that would be great. And again, thank you everybody for joining us. I appreciate it. We will have another meeting coming up. We'll start getting that in the works, and hopefully in the fall we'll be able to meet in person and be together again and have some fun networking in person. So thank you for attending, everybody, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.